Hello and welcome to the Voice It podcast, where you get a backstage pass into the lives of some of the region's most successful business owners. Those people that started with nothing and turned it into a success story. I'm your host, Annabelle Homer. Today, you'll meet this bloke.
G'day, it's Rohan here, Music Truck in Australia. Leave your name and number after the phone, I'll get back to you. 8-5.
My guest is Rohan Welke from Welke Transport out of Blyth in South Australia's mid-north. He started a livestock transport company 18 years ago at the age of 25. Rohan never finished high school. He knew it wasn't for him. He just wanted to get out in the world and make his own way. This just proves you don't need to finish school to run a successful business. He started with one truck. Now he employs many drivers and runs 8 trucks across Australia. It's been hard work. He's missed out on a lot of family time and he's had to deal with COVID complications and cross-border travel. But he says it's all worth it because at the end of the day, he's doing it for his kids. I loved hearing his story, one of my favourites, to be honest. I hope you do too. Enjoy the journey with Rohan Welke.
Yeah, well, originally Snowdown boy, born and bred in Snowdown, and yeah, did all my schooling there. Your mother-in-law actually was one of my teachers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Small world.
She did a bit of teaching there. Started over there, quiet town, small school, stuck with our same group of kids. Yeah, pretty much there was 3 or 4 of us that started kindy together and went right through school together. So it was a sort of close-knit, tight schooling right through.
And what did your parents do?
Mum was, she had her own shop there in town, did a bit of sewing and crafty sort of shop, and Dad was the groundsman at the school.
And you've got how many siblings?
2, brother and a sister, one older, one younger.
Educated at Snowtown all the way through high school? Or did you
I didn't finish year 12.
So when did you finish school?
About 3 weeks into year 12.
What happened?
It wasn't really much left for me there. I had a job I could go to, and the teachers weren't actually very impressed with the idea of leaving. I went home to Mum and Dad one day and I said, I really want to leave, getting nothing out of school, and wanted to leave, and they said, oh, you can't. And anyway, after annoying them a bit about it, we went and had a meeting at school, and it's about 3 or 4 of the teachers and me and Mum and Dad, and there was one lady teacher that was dead against me leaving, told me that I'd never make it in life if I quit school and needed the tertiary education, and that I'd never make it if I leave to be a farmhand. So, but then the other 2 teachers, they were on board, and by that afternoon I was sitting on a tractor.
So what was it that you were adamant that you wanted to get out of school?
I don't know, it just got to the point where it was just stale. It was becoming, I don't know, just boring. I was the only one doing the ag course in town there, and I had a job that I could go to on a farm that was teaching me more than what the school was teaching me. So I thought it was time to go and earn some money.
So where did you go?
I went to my uncle's place. Rohan Welke was where I first started, 5 k's out of town, and I had my licence. So started working there, and then part-time over at a dairy farm for Gary's Work at Blyth at the same time.
And so you did that for how long?
I'd stayed sort of working between the 2 farms for a couple of years until, I don't actually know, 2002, so it must have been 4 or 5 years, I suppose. In that time I got my truck licence and drove trucks for the 2 different farmers, and then Princess Royal over at Burra offered me a job driving for them. So that's where I started driving stock trucks.
So what was it like working for Princess Royal? Because what was Princess Royal like back in those days? So that was 2003.
Yep, so they'd just bought the station, and so they sort of were working out of just up the road from Blyth, like Manu at Blyth here, and also the station over there. So
who's they?
The Rowe family. So yeah, Simon Rowe. And yeah, I just worked for the trucking division of it, which I had my own boss, Mark, was there then, and yeah, that was good. So learned a lot about it, and 2 years later, yeah, I bought my own.
So what was it about driving trucks that appealed to you?
I don't know. Every young man just wants to drive trucks, go all over the countryside, don't they?
Speaking of going around the countryside, I mean, where did you drive? Is it mainly locally, or did you go everywhere?
No, right from that start. So yeah, I don't know, must have been 23, I reckon. 22 or 23. And yeah, it was straight away just Australia-wide. Just we did a lot over to Dubbo, a lot out of Alice Springs, a lot out of Western Australia, and then there was a fair bit of just local stuff as well, Murray Bridge and down in Narracourt, things like that. A bit of a culture shock going from farm boy straight into driving trucks all over the country.
Isn't there a certain amount of pressure driving trucks though? What were the challenges that you faced when you first started?
Oh, I don't really believe there was any challenges. I had really great people around me to work with, so there was no pressure to be anywhere, and so that was a good way of learning. And the people on the road back then were really good. Like you always could catch up with somebody that you knew, and you'd end up, it wasn't planned, but you might be heading to Alice Springs, and when you come into Port Augusta, you might see someone you know, and it just so happens they're going the same way. So away you go. You just travel with them, and yeah, you just meet different people along the way.
How long were you at Princess Royal for?
2 and a bit years.
You said from that moment, that's after that you decided to go out on your own. Why was that? Why did you think that was the way to go for you?
I suppose you just dreamed to having your own name on your truck. You could buy the truck you wanted, and which never worked at the start when you're starting out. To get what you want, you had to get whatever you could afford. But yeah, I think that was just the dream, and just kept going with it and persevered and got there.
So 25, you started your own business?
Just before. So I remember quite clearly I was carting grain for Princess Royal and down to our Bowman's, and Peter Weeks was there, and he always wanted me to drive for him, but I had his insurance wouldn't allow you to drive until you're 25. And I said, look, I can't, Pete, still I'm under 25. And he said, oh, and I said, I'd like to buy one. He said, really? And then he actually come around a couple of weeks later and with a bit of a proposal of what I could buy, and said, take this to the bank, see if they'll give you the money. So I did, and bugging me dead. About 3 weeks later, I had a truck, which happened to be the same week we were getting married.
Oh, you're serious? Oh,
so,
why not? Buy a truck and get married in the same week.
Yeah, so we the day before we got married, I took the truck, which we'd taken over that week, and took it over to Kadina and got my name put on it, and we used it in the wedding. So that was the start of it. That was my first hurdle. So then when I went to insure it, they're like, how old are you? I said, 24. They said, oh, you're too young. We can't insure you. But we had them, jumped around from here to there and eventually found someone that would insure us still. So, for the first 6 months until I turned 25, it was, we were paying a fair bit for insurance.
How many young blokes ran their own transport company back in those days?
Well, no, I didn't know of any, no.
How much was your first truck?
220,000.
And what's that in the scheme of things? Cheap?
No, it was quite expensive. It was only a 2-year-old truck and had everything we wanted on it, and it sort of came with the business. With the truck, we also sort of bought the work to go with it to subcontract for Pete. So,
well, that's a bonus.
Yeah, so it was pretty well guaranteed job. Like, he wasn't selling a truck to replace another one. He was same story. He couldn't find drivers, and I think that was his idea was, well, might as well sell the truck and they still keep working for him. So basically it just worked for Pete, but it was my own truck.
What was the next step after that, and how quickly did you expand from that point?
No, we just stayed at the one truck for, must have been 12, 18 months, and then I bought a trailer. I seemed to buy things on milestones, so I bought the truck just before we got married and bought my first set of B-double stock crates the day my first daughter was born. So that was another big thing, and so she was born in Clare, and the next day I was pulling my crates and went to work.
It's just stock that you handle? You don't do anything else?
Predominantly, 95% of what we do is just stock. A little bit of wool and a little bit of grain, but as you've seen, the last few years haven't been very favourable for the grain, so I haven't done a lot of that in the last couple of years. Do a bit of wool from up around Glendambo still, but other than that, it's pretty much just sheep and cattle. You're
mentioning the milestones and you got your first truck the week you got married. Tell me about Alex, your now wife. How did you guys meet?
Oh, how everyone used to meet back in the day, wasn't it? B&S balls and pubs, Clare races, all those sorts of things. I had my eye on it for a while. It took a long time to finally get her, but I don't know, one day she obviously saw the light. We got together when I was working for Princess Royal, and then bought, and she was right on board too the whole time. I said I wouldn't mind buying my own truck, and she said, well, let's do it. It's sort of been good. I think it's hard probably if we were together before there was trucks but yeah, it's sort of all we've ever known was you're away a lot and that sort of thing. So there was no real culture shock. She was a local girl, farmer's daughter. Really wanted to be a farmer, but a lot of siblings and not enough room there for everybody. So yeah, anyway, we doing our own thing.
Did she get her truck license as well? Or
she already had her truck license.
She already had it? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. No, she used to work for a farmer over at Snowdown and cart grain for him at harvest time and that. Yeah, so...
Has she ever worked in this business?
Not as far as driving. She's driven the trucks, but not as a full-time, not as a driver, no.
Do you get many female drivers these days?
There's getting more and more, not so much in the stock world. There's quite a lot in the general industry now.
Why is it not much in the stock world? Is it just because of the stock or because...
Maybe just, I don't know. A lot of heavy lifting, not saying that women can't do the heavy lifting, but yeah, there's a lot of deck boards to crank, and I think there's more in the cattle side of things, but yeah, I only know of a couple that cart the sheep. Yeah, certainly wouldn't discriminate if somebody wanted to give it a go. So
calling for anybody who has a truck license. Speaking of which, are you in need of drivers?
Always.
There's
always room for somebody else, but it's really hard now to find. Generally, you want someone to sort of be reasonably local. So, if it is a quiet afternoon or something, you can actually go home to your family or whatever it might be. And, yeah, trying to find someone that wants to cart sheep and cart cattle, because we don't really differentiate. We don't have cattle carters and sheep carters. You sort of got to do both. But there's a lot of people out there that either want to cart cattle or want to cart sheep, generally not do both. And we're quite choosy who we do get to work for us too, though. So we have had some trouble in the past, but we've had a lot of good people that have been here and left, but we've also got caught up in a few dramas along the way as well.
So what type of dramas?
More you just not wanting to work and go walkabout when you sort of want them when they're supposed to be at work and they don't rock up. And yeah, I suppose it's just, I don't know, attitudes, I suppose. Like it's just a constant job. There's no 9 to 5. It's hard. If you've got something on just for a half an hour appointment during the week, it's very hard to be home for that half an hour. Most of the drivers do around 5,000 Ks a week, so to be home, just for a half an hour somewhere in the middle of the week can be quite straining on the job.
Is the money pretty good?
Real good.
Real good? Can you give me an idea of how good's real good?
Most of my blokes now would be on around 150,000 a year. Yeah. So
maybe I should get my truck license.
But yeah,
might get more than podcasting.
it's hard work. It's not an easy street. A lot of weekends, a lot of washing trailers out, and you might cut a load of sheep in somewhere on a rainy day, and the sheep weren't emptied out properly, and all of a sudden, 10 o'clock at night. Freezing cold night up at Jamestown, you're standing there washing a trailer out. It's not ideal.
So when you started out with your one truck, how often were you away from home?
We did a lot of local work then. So still, I don't know, might have been home 2 or 3 nights a week still.
Okay, that was not too
And then
bad.
some weeks you might go away for 2 weeks, and then you might be home nearly every night for 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So it just depended where the work was. Harvest time was always better as far as being home because the silo's shut, you're home. So, But things have changed a lot now. Like the drivers now are pretty much away 5 nights a week now. So it's sort of it's quite lucky if you can get home during the week now. So we try our best, and the drivers are really good. They understand the job, and that's what they've fronted up for.
How many trucks do you have now?
8.
8. So how many years has Welke Transport been in operation?
Well, 06 we started, but then we sort of worked for Pete for a couple of years. So 08 was when Peter left, and so we were left with the reins from 08 through to now. So, yeah, we started building up. We got up to 8, and then I went back to 4, and now I'm back to 8 again.
So why did you go back to 4?
It was hard with drivers. Like, drivers are really hard to come by again, and we found ourselves not really getting any further by having 8 trucks than we had with 4. So as drivers left, we sort of just sold 2 trucks and bought maybe 1 new one, or sold what we had to. We never sold any trailers. It was just prime movers, and yeah, just sort of whittled them back, and then we found drivers started coming up again and started going back into getting more equipment again. So anyway, that's where we're at now, and we'll just coast along at that for now and see what happens.
Was there any real directional plan when you first started out?
No, it was all just take it as it comes. One door shuts, another one seemed to open, and you might have needed an extra truck for that job, or different sort of trailers or whatever. And yeah, if we could sort of afford it, we expanded, and we took a lot of risks.
What risks were they?
Like by buying new trucks when we might have got away with the older trucks, buying second hand. But yeah, we sort of put our neck on the line a bit and went for the newer, like trying to buy new trucks just to less problems, less downtime off the road, because every time they're broken down, that's no money coming in.
How often do you get the average truck breaking down?
No, not very much now. So we built the big shed over here now, and my brother works for me as a full-time mechanic and another mechanic as well. And yeah, try very hard to keep the maintenance right up there. So I don't know the last time we really had a roadside breakdown as such where it's really stopped us. You know, you get your general breakdowns, which usually aren't stopping you, but you can get back and get them fixed at home. And
so when you first started out, was it quite regular getting breakdowns, or was it or?
Yeah, probably more than now. But yeah, so now that we've got a reasonably new fleet now, so yeah, we're a lot better off. But I don't know, the motors aren't as good as they used to be. So.
Oh, aren't they?
No, we seem to have a lot more motor trouble, but that's not something we do here, and fortunately most of it's under warranty. So
how much would an average truck cost now?
That one there, just driving out now, that's 2 months old, and I think that was about 460,000 now. So
it's pretty much doubled since you first started.
That's right.
As you expanded your fleet, did you have moments of, the risks that you were taking, and did you sometimes think that you were flying blind?
Yeah, a little bit. There's a couple other carriers that I talk to that I suppose are my mentors, I suppose you'd say, because I'm obviously I don't have any real, it's not my family business that I've taken over, so I can't go to Dad and ask him what his thoughts are on trucks, or where you think the fuel price is going, or where you're buying your tyres or anything like that. So yeah, I've got a couple of really good that I talk to now on the road that I do run a lot of ideas past them now and sort of fill them out for what their opinion is. So,
that's good.
So yeah, that helps me out a lot. But whenever I think I'm sort of maybe going in a bad direction, sort of, talk to them, and probably am still going in the bad direction, but it seems to turn around somewhere.
Are you picking up new clients regularly, or have you got your stable clients that you service?
No, pretty much got our stable clients that we service. So I'll probably work more for like the agents than individual people. So yeah, the agent, they ring you, but then the agent might pick up somebody who builds a feedlot, goes into feedlotting. I've got another couple of agents that have gone away from sheep and mainly into cattle, so I've had to change and buy some cattle crates to keep them serviced and that sort of thing. But yeah, generally that's where it's
quite a lot of cost, really.
Yeah,
a lot of investment in
yes.
infrastructure.
Yep.
Must blow your mind sometimes.
It does.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's quite humbling at the same time to be able to look out the window sometimes and see. As much as I don't like seeing my trucks in the yard, it's nice to, when they do come home, it's nice to look out and see them there. So yeah.
And with stock prices being so strong at the moment, how does that flow onto your business?
It's good and bad. So because we do such a long distance trade, so we cart a lot of sheep out of Western Australia, basically the freight costs put a bearing on whether they can afford to buy them or not to buy them. So sometimes when the price of lamb, say in Western Australia, goes through the roof, we can't, then the job doesn't work. So, but on the other hand, when I'm carting sheep for somebody who's selling and they got to go all the way to Melbourne, it's fine because, the price is up there, so they can afford to cart them to Melbourne. So it goes both ways.
And speaking of carting, how has the business gone considering the border restrictions with COVID?
Yeah, it's been a battle. I think all our noses are probably a bit cleaner than they used to be. We're on 3-day COVID tests at the moment, so every 3 days we got to front up for a COVID test, and all being double vaccinated, and we never had to stop our trade at all. They never closed the borders at all on us. There was only one. We were carting a lot from the Northern Territory into Victoria, at one stage during COVID, and if you'd been to Victoria, you couldn't go to the Northern Territory. So I had to have basically half my drivers could go to the Northern Territory and the other half could go to Victoria. So the same drivers couldn't do both. That was a bit of a juggle there for a while, but it's all sorted itself out now.
Did your drivers get sick of it at the start? Did they think, oh, for goodness sake, this is overkill?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
So there's blokes that have talked about, if this goes on much longer, how much longer can, you put up with it. And the bureaucrats always think, just go and get a COVID test. It's easy. Well, that's fine if you live in the city or you have all your heaps of days off and you park your truck up and you just mosey on down the street to get a COVID test. But when you're out here in the country, you can only get them in Clare from there's a 4-hour window there, and it's quite often you need to be going again early that morning. So finally now towards the end they've started putting a lot of pop-up COVID testing clinics in, but it was a battle there at the start. You couldn't leave until the COVID test place opened, so you could go and get a test before you could go to work. So
So none of your drivers ever had to quarantine?
No, I did.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago I went to OTR there in Port Augusta. So I suppose fortunately for me, it was 10 days in before they worked out. So I actually only had to quarantine for 4 days. So caught up on my bookwork, which was good.
So you've got 4 kids and they've all obviously grown up around trucks. So are we seeing a next generation of truck drivers?
I think so, yeah. My eldest is a daughter. She's 13, going on 33. But then the boys range from 9 to 12. The twins are 9 and Henry's 12. But they're all definitely showing signs that all they want to do is drive trucks. Henry's just started to be able to drive one around the yard now, so he's getting his eye in.
How does that make you feel when you see your kids being interested and want to take on what you have created?
It's probably a lot what's driving me to keep going with the size of the business. I suppose same as everything, farmers want to hand their land onto their sons or daughters, whatever, and I definitely got the same idea here. If they don't want to do it, that's fine too. But if they want to go into the trucks, all for it. It's been a great industry to be in up until sort of things started changing a bit now. But
with COVID.
I'm sure it'll change back and just grow with it.
So apart from COVID being a challenge recently, I mean, what has been the major challenges for you throughout your career?
What
was probably the most challenging year or time?
I can't honestly say that I've had a massive... No, I haven't really had any great big hurdles to sort of cross.
Well, that's good. That's a great track record then.
Yeah. So we had a couple of rollovers. That was probably... financially, it wasn't too much of an impact as far as everything's insured, obviously, but that was mentally quite hard, I suppose. Dealing... Obviously, when you have a rollover, when you've got stock on, there's deaths and, dealing with that kind of thing. And then I went to my first rollover happened like within half an hour from home here, so it's I got to that one and it's quite a sight to come across. But everyone come out of it fine. Most of them actually were fine, but there's a few that didn't make it. So
I've spoken to some businesses in the past as part of this podcast where they say they grow quite quickly and sometimes they get into financial trouble.
Yep.
Has that ever occurred to you, or have you always grown at a steady pace?
Steady pace. I've never shopped around, not that we've ever been told, like we use a broker for our finance, obviously. If he's ever been in doubt, we haven't gone and find someone to get me the money. If he says things are tight, just hold off for a bit, we do. We've never gone, well, you just keep going, mate, until you find money. We've always stuck with what we can. We were always buying second-hand trucks, second-hand trailers, and now it's got to the point where we're just buying the newer stuff, and at least that way, by the time you have paid for it, it's still new. Like it's not.
How long do you keep a truck until you trade it in?
Well, I don't know. I always have these big ideas that I'll sell them after 5 years, but I'm not very good at selling things. I get grow. I'm like, I might just keep that one for a bit longer. So, the oldest truck that I bought that I was supposed to sell is now 8 years old, which was supposed to be sold after 5. So.
Have you still got your first one here?
No. I only sold that 3 years ago. 3 or 4 years ago I sold that one. So,
That would have been tough.
Yeah, it was. It had done nearly 2 million Ks when I'd sold it. So, it served me well.
But do you name your trucks?
We used to. My first new truck I bought was 12 months after I had my daughter. So that was called Missing Charlotte. And then my next one...
Missing Charlotte?
Yeah, Missing Charlotte. And then my next one was 12 months after my first son was born, Henry. So that was, Henry Patrick. And then we stopped. But I've bought a lot more trucks since then. But then we had the twins, and then, it was... So now the truck that I ever buy for myself, I put all the 4 names of the kids across the back.
Oh, and you haven't done that yet?
Yeah, so I've got 2 trucks with all the kids' names on the back.
So Alex doesn't get a mention?
No. Neither do I, though. The last truck I just bought, that's called Spirit of the Bush. And then I bought 2 at the same time. And then the other one, which we only just picked up last week, I've called that one Self-Isolation, which was fitting because it was when I was in quarantine that we got that one. And, basically they're home away from home anyway, and we spend a lot of time in them now.
So you've been driving for 18 years. So now you can sit back and I can ask you the question. You've said that you're continuing down this line because of your kids. But what is it that you like about this business?
The people, I think. If I had to deal with people on forklifts all day and warehouses and time slots, I don't think I'd be interested. But going to stations and you go there from year to year, I've done a lot now where I'm starting to, like, they're kids that are now, the kid is now taken over the farm, and now they're the ones that are loading the sheep. And the same as stock agents. There's a couple of stock agents now as well, where I used to work for the father and now I'm working for the son. And so, you know them. They're like mates now, and you grow with them, and, you see their crops from one year to the next. So, you can talk to them on, not a bad day today. You can sort of actually ask them from last time you said you were trying something different with your cropping or whatever, and, ask them next time you see them, well, how did that actually go? And, you follow along with them and become a lot more involved in it,
You develop a relationship with your clients. Where do you see yourself in 10 years' time?
I don't know. A lot of that would depend on what my kids want to do, I think. Like, I've missed out on a lot with the kids, sport, school, all those things. Growing up, we missed a lot of that. Family holidays, that's really tough at the moment because you just can't seem to get away. There's always, when you got employees, they want to have holidays as well, and you just always seem to be busy right when it's school holidays, so you can never seem to get a break. Up until the last couple of years, we've sort of been making a point that we have to do it because the kids are just growing up too quick. Once the kids can give me clear indication of whether they're going to go down the truck alley or not, I guess that'll be probably the determining factor where the business goes. If they decide that they don't want to have anything to do with the business, I'd sort of probably start trying to not wind it back, but concentrate on more what I want to do as far as not running a business and being on call 24/7.
So that's obviously one of the biggest challenges in the industry then, is the fact you've missed out on a lot of family time. Is that one of your... Would you say that's a regret?
Yeah. So not only my wife and kids either, like my mum and dad, sister, brother too. Like, I'm fortunate that my brother works with me, so I see him every day. But my sister, I don't get anywhere near enough time to see her or mum and dad. So it's hard.
Do they understand?
Yeah, they do. Yep, definitely.
Do the kids at some point say to you, at any point really, "Oh, Dad, you're always working. Can't you come and watch us play footy? Or can't you do this? Can't you take me to swimming lessons?"
Yep.
Yeah.
Just starting to now. It's just annoying when you're trying to do something with the kids. When you finally do get a chance, then the phone rings, and it's like you hope it's just a quick phone call, but it's not. Then that phone call leads to 3 more phone calls, and all of a sudden it's dark, and the kids are like, "Oh, we didn't get to do that, Dad." Sorry. They're unreal kids. They bounce out of it all, and I just hope one day they see the reason behind it and that it was worthwhile. So. And
what does your mum and dad think about what you've achieved? Because you came from humble beginnings at Snowtown Area School. You left 3 weeks into grade 12 and you were adamant this is what you wanted to do, and they stood behind you and supported you.
Yeah, definitely. They've always been very supportive. Yep, always. Like, they never once said you have to finish school, you have to do this, or they've gone along with everything that I've ever done, and they're very proud.
If Henry came up to you 3 weeks into grade 12 and said, "Dad, this is not for me," would you support him, or would you?
Definitely. I learnt so much when I left school. I wasn't learning at school. Like, I was at school, but wasn't taking it in. No, you'd learn how to spell, you'd learn how to write, you'd learn how to do your maths, and it gets to the point where the real learnings of life happen once you leave school. When you got a boss that is going to be hard on you if you break something or you muck up, and as soon as you're getting paid, you start thinking about what you're doing, and I learnt so much. And they say you can't teach common sense, but you can. Like, I got taught a lot of things. Like, I always remember I was about to drill a hole one day on a boom spray, and I had to fix a clamp that holds the spray bar to the boom itself. And I remember my boss walking past and going, "You're going to drill through that?" I'm like, yeah, I'll just drill this and then I'll put it in. He's like, "What's going to happen when the drill goes through there?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." He's like, "Well, think about it." So, you stop and think about it. I'm like, "No, couldn't think about it." Anyway, I did it and drilled straight through into the pipe. And, he did not pull me up before I did it. And then he walked out and he said, "Now you're going to have to fix that too." You know what I mean? So then suddenly, after you do a few of those things, you start thinking before you do it next, like, not that exact same job, but you start getting it into your head that I've got to think about what's going to happen after I do, think things through a bit. And so that's where I think, like, that common sense, a lot of that comes from having a bloke terrier to watch that sort of thing. And then when you muck up, I didn't get in trouble for it, just got told that then I've got to fix that as well. So you soon learn that, if you're going to break it, yeah, you do. And you don't get that at school. No, I think, I've got no real great memories of school, to be honest. I don't think, as far as grateful that I learnt to read and write. As far as that, I think a lot of my learnings come from definitely outside of school.
It's been an absolute pleasure having a chat to you, Rohan, and actually catching up with you again. It's been a long time, and it's wonderful to hear your story and how far you've come from those early days with one truck to now having 8. And you're doing this for your family and for your children. And I applaud you. So well done.
No, thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story.
No worries, thank you.
Really nice bloke. I really enjoyed chatting to Rohan. If you've got a spare moment, please don't hesitate to rate and review this episode or any of the Voice It episodes. Love to hear your feedback. If you'd like to find out more about what I do, I am a voice coach. I run public speaking training sessions. I also produce podcasts for organisations, and I record audio memoirs for families. For more info, my website is in my show notes. I'll catch you again next time for another episode of the Voice It podcast.